All right, guys, thank you all for, of course, staying for we like to say we're batting cleanup right now. I know it's the end of the day, it's been long, and the last thing that we want to do is come up here and talk at you guys. So hopefully we're going to have a real nice interactive session, keep it short and sweet. But there's a lot of things that we want to say while we're up here. We're going to squeeze it into a really short period of time. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for all of you. We have people up here from a handful of different countries, and hopefully we can all come here to Iceland to learn and share experiences and say, hey, this is what's going on in the global economic ecosystem, and we're all entrepreneurs from all different places, and this is what we can learn from each other, and then bring this back to our respective countries. So without further ado, I want to just introduce everybody real quick. On the far left, we have Eleftharios. We can call him Eli, and he runs something in South Africa called the Entrepreneur Fund, and he came a long way to get here, so give Eli a quick round of applause. Next up on the left there, we have Ray Land. He is all the way from Florida. He has come also a very long way. He is a motor coach. I would call him quite possibly the next Walt Disney. He's working on, he owns fabulous motor coach lines, has, I don't know, maybe 150 employees driving around all over the country, 25 years old, started his business at 17, and is now looking to incorporate a place called Fabulous Florida. So he's got some big ideas if you want to talk to him about a little investment. Foreign investment, Florida, there's the man to talk to.
Big investment.
All right, next up we have Jamie. Jamie, I think, wins the award for coming around the world this way as opposed from the South Pole to the North Pole. She is all the way in from Singapore. So Jamie, thank you for coming out. She runs she's in the food and liquor industry. She runs a bar in Singapore, working on a development in Vietnam, and also really interesting person. And then, of course, we have Ari. I came all the way to meet Ari, and then I realized that our offices are 6 blocks away from each other in New York. He's Icelandic, schooled in London, and does a lot of other cool stuff. Now we are neighbors in New York, so that is cool. And then, of course, we have Brent Beshore. Brent is from Columbia, Missouri, a small town in Columbia, in Missouri, not in Columbia. Also has the population of Iceland, so he's been drawing a lot of references between the middle of the United States and the middle of the North Atlantic. So Brent's company is actually number 28 on the Inc. 500, and his company acquires communication companies, technology companies, PR, ad agency, that kind of thing. And I myself am Matt Wilson from Under 30 CEO, and let's get things started. So the first thing that keeps coming up over and over and over again at this conference, and it just seems like such an interesting overarching theme and such an important part of this global ecosystem. And I want to first ask everybody if they could please pronounce the word Eyjafjallajökull. Anybody want to go for it? All right. Well, in all seriousness, I'm going to sit down and we're going to get you guys involved in a second. But I just wanted to kind of take the temperature of this global entrepreneurial ecosystem and see what is it like in other parts of the world. And we understand here now what it's all about in Iceland, and you guys have heard a lot about Silicon Valley and an assortment of other places around the world. But I just wanted to go down the line real quick, and if you could just take 30 seconds, Ellie, and just tell us a little bit about entrepreneurship in South Africa and what you're looking to achieve there.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Matt. Well, initially, I'd just like to get rid of the proverbial South Africa is the most hostile place in the world. It's actually really friendly. In entrepreneurial terms, our culture is not really geared towards entrepreneurship, so we like to talk a lot about entrepreneurship, but we don't like to do entrepreneurship. So that has to change. But yeah, other than that, friendly environment, funding isn't as accessible and really available as the States, but I mean, we'd like to change that. So yeah.
All right, next up we have Jamie. Jamie, I think, wins the award for coming around the world this way as opposed from the South Pole to the North Atlantic. So
Well, it's a privilege and a pleasure to be here in Iceland, and I certainly appreciate that. From Florida, we try our best to encourage and inspire young people to be entrepreneurs. As you all know, Florida is the Sunshine State and a beautiful state to visit, especially by motor coach. Also, we are excited to say in North Florida, a lot of tech startups are starting to form. You might be listening to your radio on Groove Shark, and that's in my hometown. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in Florida.
Hi. Well, in Singapore, it's been a push by the government. So since 20 years ago, to actively push entrepreneurship as a means of growth. And I think it's within the past couple of years, I would say within the past 3-4 years, that they've been actively trying to go for entrepreneurship and to push young entrepreneurs. And that's actually the reason why I moved back to Singapore as well. And yeah, Singapore's voted #1 easiest place in the world to do business for the past 6 years by the World Bank. And there's a lot of funding available. There's actually a visa for entrepreneurs called the EntrePass, which is available for anyone who wants to start businesses in Singapore. So I think, attracting a lot of talent and having a lot of funding available, we just need, local talent. I think what Brad said about how there are a lot of feeders, but not enough leaders. And I think in Singapore, we definitely need more leaders. We definitely have the infrastructure and the ecosystem to support that. So we just need more leaders to step up.
Well, New York doesn't need much of an introduction, but there's been a lot going on just in the last 2 or 3 years in terms of the startup ecosystem. There's been Union Square Ventures have been there leading the charge to try and attract technology businesses. But traditionally, New York has been dominated by media, finance, fashion. And it's really shown how technology companies can get into those industries and be based in New York. I mean, my own company, Fabrically, deals with fashion, and we had Y Combinator, the incubator or accelerator that we went through, trying to convince us that we should be in Silicon Valley or in San Francisco. Just didn't make any sense because we did not have any access to fashion designers there. So New York is really great if you're dealing with anything to do with those traditional industries there. And Bloomberg has been great in terms of building up the kind of infrastructure. There's a lot of cheap office space. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So New York is really exciting at the moment.
Well, first, I want to say I had no idea when I first got pinged by Matt to think about this trip. Iceland is badass. I mean, you guys are awesome. And it's interesting because my hometown, so Columbia, Missouri, is about the same size as Reykjavik. So it's really interesting. You guys may be surprised. The whole day we've heard about, how the U.S. can be an inspiration, how Icelanders can go to the U.S. and get funding or get help with scale. And actually, for me, it's quite the opposite. I'm gaining a lot of inspiration for what the middle of the country, the area we call the flyover zone between the coasts. Like when we explain where I live, it's out, look outside your window of your airplane whenever you're flying between New York and LA. But for me, it's really amazing. I was having this conversation the other day with somebody, and they said, well, there's no way we can have a tech fund in Missouri. I mean, come on, there's only like 6 million people there, right? And then I come here, and I hear this morning that you guys have like 4 tech funds or 5 tech funds. So anyway, it's bullshit what they said. So I'm excited that I'm excited to be here, and I just really appreciate the inspiration.
So speaking of inspiration, I really want to know from these guys up here who came from all over the world, what is it that inspires them really to be entrepreneurs in places, like Ellie was saying, in South Africa, it's entrepreneurs are almost looked down upon, and risk-taking isn't part of their culture. And I want to know, what is it that inspires you from all these different places around the world, and what can we learn from one another to really build this catalyst to drive to get everyone around the globe really invested in this entrepreneurial ecosystem and inspire a whole lot more people spawning out of this room. So, Ellie?
Yeah, well, for me, it's not just about the cash at the end of the day. I mean, we have huge poverty problems, education problems in South Africa. So through our one company, Brain Trust Tutors, we've run quite a large-scale project with the government, about $1 million US, where we tutored approximately 12,000 matric students in one of our provinces. So that was a real social change project for us. So it wasn't extremely profitable, but it really made a big difference. So that contributed to a 9% pass rate increase. So yeah, so stuff like that really drives me.
In the entire country?
In that specific province, yeah. So something like that really drives me to continue and start new businesses and try help out the rest of our population.
That's a lot of students, 12,000
Yeah.
students. So that's really cool.
Well, I would say that entrepreneurship for me is a lot about not necessarily being in business as much as it is making dreams come true. And a lot of times, those are my ideas and dreams and thoughts that I have that are maybe this size. And then when you see them start to grow, you get a feeling of success in yourself. And before long, your team develops around you and they help to build you up. And before long, you're all working together and building an environment where everybody's dreams can come true. And, a lot of my employees have been with me now for almost 8 years. And when I look at them and they have such passion in their jobs, it gives me some reason to move forward and always want to grow the company and make it better. I wish that if you have a team around you, you'll be able to find as good a team as I have to help inspire you to move forward.
No, that's great. And Ray said something that actually inspired me the other day. We were just talking about people that you meet randomly every day on the street or whatever, and he said, it's interesting. Some people don't look at the world like entrepreneurs do. And he said, every day I wake up and, instead of looking at myself as a really small part of a big world, he said he wants to look at the world around him as really a really big part of a small world. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Thank you.
So when I talk about what inspires me, well, obviously I don't think it's for money because if you want money, most people don't go into the F&B industry. I think the failure rate for F&B is extremely high. Most bars tend to fail after the first 1 or 2 years. So it's not about the money. I think it's more about just pursuing your passion. Ever since, for as long as I can remember, people would say, "Oh, Jamie, that girl, she can eat." And then as I went to school, it changed, and "Oh, Jamie can drink." So it's not something I'm proud of, and I don't think I live up to that anymore. But it's always been something that has continued to fascinate me. Just looking at the industry and coming up with interesting concepts and how it all fits in together with the brand, the logo, the menu. If you think about it, F&B it's like an experience. You go into a high-class lounge and everything fits together with the design and the decor and the uniform. And you go to a dive bar and it's completely different. So I like that aspect about it, being able to shape people's experiences. So that's why I started my place. And along with that, it's been extremely fulfilling journey for me to mentor other young entrepreneurs, which I've done in Singapore as well.
Yeah, I think I'd add to that and say that it's definitely not just about making money. I mean, there are a lot easier ways to make money than working 14-hour days week after week and not take any holidays. But I think the biggest motivator for me is just having an impact on the world. I see a lot of my friends from university going into banking or consulting and just kind of disappearing into these big machines, never to be heard from again. Whereas I'm there, I'm in front of people, I'm dealing with, in my case, fashion designers every day, and I'm giving them tools to help them realize their dreams and to build their businesses and to kind of bring their creativity to life. And that's just very satisfying on a much deeper level than anything else that I've done. And that's kind of what keeps me going at doing what I do.
I would say for me, it's creating, right? I used to, when I was growing up, actually my brother is in the audience over there, and he can attest to this. I used to play SimCity. I don't know if anybody ever played SimCity growing up. But man, I could play that thing for like 5-6 hours at a time, right? You just like create cities, like you make an earthquake, you shake them down, right? You build them all up. And I was like, when I finally figured out what entrepreneurship was, I was like, oh my God, this is like SimCity, only real, and people will pay you for it, which is like the best thing ever, right? So for me, it's just it's the pure enjoyment of creation, right? Creating something out of nothing, having an idea and taking it somewhere where you wake up every day. It's the first thing you think about. You can't go to bed at night because you're so excited about it, because you're excited about creating. That's what entrepreneurship is about, creating.
And if I could just quickly answer that question as well. When it comes down to what inspires me, it's you guys. So just to tell you guys how I ended up in Iceland and I've been able to spend almost 3 weeks here now. I was here in late March, early April, and we were shooting a film on climate change, some viral videos that hopefully you guys will all see and spread to your friends about climate unchanged. But anyhow, we were here in the backcountry for 2 weeks, and we just did everything that was amazing about the countryside and caught it all on film. And I'm talking super jeeping, scaling volcanoes, ice climbing on glaciers, going to the black beaches, and going snowmobiling. I skied on peaks that I don't think had ever been skied before in the entire country. And I mean, that kind of stuff inspires me because that's what I love to do outside of business. And I said, Iceland would be just such an amazing place to come and bring a group of awesome young entrepreneurs on a retreat where we could all just, learn about one another. We'll go on all sorts of crazy excursions during the day, and then we'll talk business at night. And so I was here doing this, and it was all clicking with me. But the cool part was it wasn't just like we were here on an expensive holiday. We weren't on a beach just drinking $14 martinis, or what do you drink on a beach? Margaritas. We just had this feeling of, okay, we're actually doing something together, and we're in this amazing place, but we're trying to add our little piece to the world and make the world a bit of a better place any way that we can. And I said I'd love to come back and do this, and Siggy and I got to talking, and then I had a random Saturday in Reykjavik, and Bala had actually reached out to me and just random tweet, and I see this guy on Twitter, Bala in Iceland, and his little driving cap, and so I said, let's grab a cup of coffee. And within 5 minutes of meeting him, he said, well, I can't stay too long. There's a business plan competition at the University of Iceland, and I said, well, can I come? And Bala kind of looked at me funny, and when Bala looks at you like you're crazy, something's up, and he's like, well, it's entirely in Icelandic, but you're more than welcome to come. And I was like, all right, sure, let's go. So end up going to University of Iceland, meet the whole Innovate team, end up going back and touring the incubator, drinking champagne, went out with Christian, had beers with Christian, the Startup Weekend founder, and Startup Reykjavik, ended up crashing their party, da-da-da-da-da. Next thing you know, it's 5 in the morning, and I'm like, Iceland is fucking awesome. So anyway, that's how we ended up here, and then it all just clicked. And within the last 4 weeks, we were just able to bring all these awesome people with about 12 people from all over the world, businesses in 7 different countries, and here we are. So long story, but this is how we ended up here. But that is what inspires me. It's you guys. So thank you for that. Moving right along, and we're going to get you guys involved. I thought what Ellie said was really, really interesting about how okay, there wasn't a ton of money to be made in what he did in the first iteration of trying to solve this education system in his country. But if you look at these global problems, things like climate change, and I thought Green Cloud was really, really cool because they're solving a global issue here. And it's not that, with all due respect to Brad, Farmville, really? Like, what, did that really have an impact on the world? It's cool, it made a lot of money, but I think there's so much more money to be made in things that actually solve real big picture problems. And so if you guys just want to talk about a couple problems that you guys would like to see solved, and then we can kind of open it up to discussion. And I think what our generation really needs is a talent reappropriation plan. And it means, hey, think about what you're doing, and it's all cool to do what you're passionate about, but I think a lot of people can get incredibly passionate about these big global issues. So just want to open it up to discussion, and actually someone in this room thinks is pretty smart said, it's a problem when the top female at Harvard Business School drops out to take pictures of people's shoes and upload them onto Facebook. So that kind of thing. Love to see more real solutions to real life problems. If you guys want to kind of talk about that real quick and where you see that going.
Yeah, well, I'm involved in education, but I think it's still a big problem, and we definitely haven't come close to solving it. So education is still the next step for me that I'd like to stay in. I mean, we run a private tutoring business as well, one-on-one tutoring and group tutoring. But the real problem is, as that public project was, it's in the townships where there are millions of people that are educated badly and education is just in shambles. People don't have access to the internet, so you can't really watch YouTube videos. Textbooks are a problem. So there's a lot of issues that are facing education in South Africa and broader Africa. But yeah, so that's where I'd like to stay in and, you know, try to solve those problems.
Well, one of the things that I like to emphasize is the green transportation options that are out there, and they're lying in something that I'm very passionate about, which is motor coach travel. And when you see these Reykjavik excursions and Iceland, you see them being vehicles and you like them. Maybe they're very comfortable, but what you may not know is how green they are. And when you take a vehicle like that and you put it on the street, you're removing 50 cars, maybe more. Here, the vehicles are larger, so up to 70 cars. And if we can encourage people across the world to start traveling in groups, traveling on motor coaches, traveling by the most efficient way, more efficient than rail, more efficient than ships, way more efficient than trains, then our fuel stretches much farther, and travel is green. It's the most eco-friendly way to travel, so I don't know if that makes any sense.
Ray will not make any money off of that one.
Also paperless. We'll go paperless. That'll be later.
Something that I got involved recently was I was in Vietnam for the past 2 months, living there for 2 months. I was trying to start a bar in Saigon and also looking at franchise opportunities there as well. And I saw this issue which many of you might have heard of, which is regarding Agent Orange. And a lot of people think, oh, Agent Orange, which, like me, myself, I thought that, you know, that was in the 70s, like, you know, Vietnam War, and that was a long time ago. And people don't hear about it nowadays, but it's still an issue that is still ongoing. And I actually saw people who are kids who are still born with Agent Orange deformities, and people living in regions where they are affected by Agent Orange because the soil that they are actually eating off from, or growing crops, or having the streams that are where they bathe and take the showers, and all of that is affected by Agent Orange. So it's really an issue that's still going on today. And I think I recently got involved in this organization which is trying to do more spreading the word, and I think that's an issue that we should still continue to look at, even though, you know, the spraying of, you know, happened a couple years ago, well, not a couple years, 30 years ago, but it's still a pressing issue that we should look at today.
Okay, I feel like a heretic here because I'm not sure that Zynga isn't solving a big problem. I mean, how many people get bored? You know, a lot of people get bored, and there's a huge industry, the entertainment industry, you know, around tackling boredom. But in terms of a real problem that I would love to see tackled, and again, I'm not sure that we should all be setting out to tackle a big problem from day one. I mean, how did Microsoft start? Microsoft started off doing, you know, a programming language for an obscure microcomputer, and then it grew into, you know, a huge software company. So I think it's often good to just take a small bite and then work your way up from there, and not try to, you know, change the whole world from day one, because you end up getting demotivated because you need to take it one step at a time. But one problem I do want to see solved is that of physical mail. Like, we've almost killed the fax, and now we need to tackle physical mail and go paperless, as you say. And you know, I still get piles of mail, and it's just such a waste, and it's destroying the environment, and it's a hassle to deal with. So if anyone has a good idea on how to solve that one, please come talk to me.
Well, you know, this one's going to be completely outside so I do marketing, advertising, communications, and I'd have to say that I'm getting more and more passionate and really interested and fascinated with obesity. If you look at global epidemics, I mean, you can make an argument that literally there is no bigger problem to solve in the world than obesity. And as somebody who I gained 60 pounds from the time I started my first business for the first 5 years. And I stepped on the scale one day, and it's like, we made more money, and I ate more, and we gained more weight. It was just crazy, right? Like, it was like an endless problem. I didn't know how to, I dieted, crash dieted, went back up. And then I stepped on the scale, it was probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and I weighed 1.5 deuce. right? Like I was like, holy shit, I am big, like big. So anyway, I started doing a lot of research and learning about it. I actually bought a Fitbit, which I know Mr. Feld's on the board of back there. So not just gaming and boredom, but anyway, and so did a bunch of research, and actually I was really interested in and pissed off at what I found. I found out that basically everything that had been taught to me about how to be healthy, how to lose fat, how to gain muscle, basically was wrong. Like to the point where I kind of started thinking it's like a conspiracy theory, right? And so totally changed my diet, changed some habits that I had very quickly, actually, once I had the base knowledge. Like I didn't never ask the why question, right? I always just like read diet books and was like, oh, you got to eat like 1,000 calories a day and go running a lot. Okay, that's how you do it, right? And then that didn't work. And so anyway, lost a bunch of fat, gained a bunch of muscle over the last like 3 or 4 months, and now I'm like really interested in how do you solve this for a lot of people in a lot of different languages, in a lot of different situations, with a lot of different food sources, and totally outside of my my comfort zone on that. So it's kind of interesting.
No,
Big
Brent,
problem.
I think that's awesome. And to Ari's point, it can be a small problem, and you build your minimum viable product. And
what is it? Is that 4-minute abs? Is that what it is? No. Okay.
All right. Brent's minimum viable product is this beautiful body of his. So give him a round of applause.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. So.
All right. So to open this up, I know it's the end of the day. We don't have too much more time. Actually, we have no time. But Bala's given me the red light on this. I'd like to invite all of you to come out with us at 10 o'clock. It's in the program packet. The oyster bar, sorry, I apologize. Anyway, we'd love to continue discussion on how we can look to really solve real problems, but also, as Sarah Pravette said when she was up here, what is it that we can do to help each other as this global entrepreneurial ecosystem, and beyond Startup Iceland, beyond our respective countries, together I think we can certainly start businesses that are both rich in profit and in social good. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.